Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fifth episode. I can't believe we're already at the fifth one. When I'm filming this, it still has not went up. It's still not live yet, but I've already got a lot of feedback on my Facebook group so far, so I think it's gonna be doing really well. And I'm especially excited for this episode. We're gonna be doing a brief overview of the Sabbats. But we're going to be mostly focusing on Samhain because that is going to be in a couple of days on the 31st. So I thought it'd be a really good time to do this episode. So all the links that I use for my research will be down below like always, as well as a link to my link tree with all of my other social medias and my other channels. I just want to take the time to thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I'm just so ready to get into it, so we're really just going to start off with the wheel of the year, which is the overview of the Sabbats. And the Sabbats they are Wiccan holidays. I'm not Wiccan, but I do celebrate them. I think they're really fun, and I don't know, I enjoy them, so you don't have to be Wiccan to celebrate them. I just want to make that very clear. But Wicca is also sometimes described as a non-organized religion. There is no central holy text or designated place of worship in Wicca, and there are no standardized ritual proceedings to observe. All the details are left up to the individual traditions, covens, and solitary practitioners to decide for themselves. So there's a lot of flexibility, but there is a very important element of Wicca that does serve as a structural center for the religion, and that's the wheel of the year. The 8 holidays of the Wiccan year, that are also known as the Sabbats, provide regular occasions for practitioners to come together, whether it's for coven rituals or more informal circle celebrations. The Sabbats are comprised. They are comprised of 4 solar holidays, the 2 solstices, and 2 equinoxes that mark the Earth's annual journey around the sun, and 4 Earth festivals, which occur in February, May, August, and October. This latter set of Sabbats mark the cross-quarter days between the solar points. For example, Beltane is usually celebrated on May 1st, falls roughly halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. Each of the cross-quarter holidays in bulk Beltane, Lammas, and Samhain is inspired by older traditional folk festivals which were celebrated in Western Europe before the rise of Christianity. Depending on the form of Wicca being practiced, some of these festivals go by other names, so you might hear me use different ones interchangeably. And it's also depending on what I was using for research. So we're going to go over some other names so you can know what I'm talking about. And like I said, you don't have to be Wiccan to focus on these holidays. I think they're very important, which is why I do them, and also because they're very fun. So you should definitely, if you're interested in this episode, look into them because it might be something that you're interested in. But like I was saying, Lammas, for example, is also known as Lunasa by those who work Celtic traditions. I say both. Lammas is just usually easier for people to sound out because if you look at how Lunasa is spelled, it's really confusing. But many Wiccans refer to the cross-quarter days as the greater Sabbats, and the solar days as the lesser Sabbats, as the Earth festival days are seen to be times of greater energy. This terminology is more about making a distinction between the two types, but that doesn't mean the solar days, also known as sun Sabbats, are any less important. They're all just as important, it's for distinction purposes. It should be noted that these 8 holidays do not belong to just Wicca. Many contemporary pagan traditions also observe some or all of the Sabbats. The metaphorical mythology surrounding the god and the goddess and each Sabbat's portion of the overall story is what makes the Wiccan version unique. The divine pair is responsible for all creation and nature, and each has crucial roles to play in the cycles of plant and animal life during the course of the year. As the god represents the sun and the goddess the earth, their relationship is seen in 2 ways, as mother and child and as procreating lovers. In this way, both the presence and absence of warmth and sunlight over the course of the seasons is explained. The god is born, grows up, and reaches the height of his power, and then ages and dies, to be reborn again as the growth cycle is renewed. The goddess, who is the earth, is both mother and co-created partner to the earth, remaining steadfast and present throughout the year, even in the absence of warmth and light. She is the constant, which may be why her Sabbats, the earth festivals, are considered to have greater power. But the overall vision of the endless birth, death, rebirth cycle is one of balance between the female and male universal energies, and each Sabbat can be seen as representing a particular stage of the cycle. Very quickly, just a side note not pertaining to this, if you hear tornado sirens, I'm filming this on a Saturday, and here in Oklahoma, our sirens get tested every Saturday at noon. So that's probably what you're hearing. If you're hearing anything, I'm sorry. But anyways, so now we're going to get into what happens at a Sabbath celebration. So, like so much in Wicca, the details can vary widely, but generally speaking, there will be a ritual focusing on some element of the god and goddess relationship and or the time of the year. For example, spring and summer Sabbats take themes of fertility and abundance, while autumnal Sabbats are related to harvesting. The formal ritual is usually followed by a feast of some kind. These proceedings may be simple or elaborate and may involve just a solitary practitioner, a coven, or an informal Wiccan circle. Some covens and circles, as well as other pagan groups, even hold their Sabbat rituals in public, so that interested members of the community might come and observe and learn. Others maintain a tradition of strict secrecy and celebrate in private. The details of the ritual, as well as the decorations and food, will likely depend on the particular Sabbat. Witches may devote their rituals to different aspects of the god and goddess at different points along the wheel of the year, leave offerings appropriate to each season, and decorate the altar with seasonal themes. So, like today we're talking about Samhain, we're going to be talking about all the things that are particular to Samhain. And because the equinoxes and solstices happen at precise moments in time, they may fall on different dates in different parts of the world, and the date can vary from one year to the next. Therefore, a range of possible dates is given for the solar Sabbath. So, like, in the northern hemisphere, October is Samhain. I don't know what it is in the southern hemisphere. I'm sorry. I'm not in the southern hemisphere, so I'm not particularly sure. But it's going to be completely different because there's a different season over there, if that makes any sense. And because the 1 year might be a leap year, the days might be a little bit off. But they're generally around the same time. But now we're going to get into Samhain. So when is Samhain? It is October 31st or November 1st. It can be pronounced Samhain, Samhain, or Samhain. Most commonly I hear it pronounced Samhain. When I first heard it, I pronounced it Samhain. So don't feel embarrassed if you do it, because I did it too, and I know a lot of other people do. But the themes are death, rebirth, divination, honoring ancestors, introspection, benign mischief, revelry, and it's also known as Samhain, Halloween, Third Harvest, Day of the Dead, Feast of the Dead. Some of these have names that I can't pronounce, and so I'm not going to try to. Shadowfest, Ancestor Night, Winter Nights, Old Hallowmas, Gaif. I'm sorry, I tried to pronounce that one as best as could. There's a few others that I absolutely cannot pronounce, and I'm not going to sit here and try to butcher it. But definitely go and look it up. They'll be in the links that I provide down below. It's the third and final harvest festival on the wheel of the year, and it's observed on October 31st. It marks the end of the growing season and the beginning of winter, which must be prepared for now in earnest. Herbs are dried for winter storage, fruits and vegetables are canned and preserved, and root vegetables are dug up and stored so they may nourish us through the cold months. The word Samhain comes from Old Irish and is thought by many to translate as summer's end. While the cycles of life and death are implicitly recognized at every Sabbath, Samhain is when the necessary role of death is formally honored. The nights grow noticeably longer with each day. The god retreats now into the shadows of the dark season, symbolically dying back to the earth before being reborn again at Yule. Many Wiccans and other pagans consider this to be the most important day on the wheel, a time when the veil between the spirit world and the mundane world is at its thinnest. Our ancestors and loved ones on the other side are said to be more easily able to visit with us and make their presence known at this time. Samhain is arguably the most visible Sabbath in the mainstream world thanks to the parallel holiday of Halloween. Many of the Halloween traditions celebrated in contemporary cultures today have grown out of customs dating back to pagan times. So just a side note, I didn't know how much was in common with Halloween and Samhain until I read, it's A. Llewellyn's book. It's titled Samhain. It's by Diana Rachel. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, but it has folklore, feasts, activities and stuff in it, just all about Samhain. And there's so many similarities, it's crazy, and it tells you a lot about the old history. So I definitely recommend that book if you're interested in reading about Samhain in like a book form. But as far back as ancient Greeks, people were leaving offerings of food to their ancestors, which is echoed in the modern tradition of trick-or-treating. The practice of leaving root vegetables hollowed out with lighted candles inside to guide spirits visiting on Earth ultimately led to today's jack-o'-lanterns. Witches, of course, have always been part of the mainstream Halloween lore, and although they have always been presented as evil characters with no resemblance to the real thing, there is still a lingering association between the spirit of Halloween and the real power of a witch. Samhain rituals will honor the god's passing and give thanks to both the god and the goddess for the abundance and well-being experienced over the past year. Feasts featuring the foods of the final harvest are a wonderful way to celebrate. We also honor our ancestors and invite them to visit with us. You can decorate your altar with pictures of your deceased loved ones in addition to fall foliage, apples and nuts, dried herbs, and even jack-o'-lanterns. People will also leave a plate of food and drink out for any spirits who happen to wander by. It's often called the Feast of Hecate. This is one of the most popular Samhain traditions, and it stems from the worship of this goddess of the underworld in ancient Greece. So this is actually going to be my first Samhain that I practice myself. I've been doing this for over a year, but last year I really didn't know much about the Sabbats, so I didn't practice. So this is my first year actually doing them, so I'm really excited to do Samhain. I love Halloween, so I'm really excited. But Samhain is one of the most powerful nights of the year for spell work and divination. Magical workings related to just about anything will receive an extra boost, but wanting moon work will have the most potent effect. Banishings, protection spells, clearing of obstacles, and astral projection are particularly favored. Scrying, tarot reading, rune casting, and any other form of divination you practice will bring you very clear results, as well as possibly a visit from an ancestor or a spirit guide. Be open to doing inner work as well, reflecting on what you'd like to let go and what you'd like to improve on in yourself over the coming year. For the ancient Celts, Samhain was the end of the old year and the start of the new. Rather than having 4 distinct seasons marked by the quarter points of each solar year, the Celtic year was divided into a dark half and a light half. The year began with the first day of the dark half, which is November 1st, but because the Celtic day began at night, Samhain falls on October 31st. Many, if not most, Wiccans begin their wheel of the year on this day as well. So that's just a little bit of the backstory to Samhain. So now we're going to get into like how to celebrate the rituals, the activities, the feasts, and so much more. So it's typically celebrated by preparing a dinner to celebrate the harvest. The holiday is meant to be shared with those who have passed on as well as those who are still with us. You can set a place at the table for those in the spiritual plane, providing an offering for them upon every serving throughout the meal. In addition to those who have passed, invite friends and family to join the feast with you. Typical beverage include mulled wine, cider, and mead, and are to be shared with the dead throughout the meal. The Samhain Nature Walk. You can take a meditative walk in a natural area near your home. Observe and contemplate the colors, aromas, sounds, and other sensations of the season. Experience yourself as part of the circle of life and reflect on death and rebirth as being an important part of nature. If the location permits, gather some natural objects and upon your return, use them to adorn your home. You can set up a Samhain altar, which is what I will be doing. If you're new to the pagan tradition and don't have a permanent altar in place, you can easily set up a table to leave in place for the 3 days prior to Samhain. Decorate the altar with symbols of late fall. My previous episode of this was about altars and altar tools, and we talked a little bit about how you can decorate them according to season, so go check out that episode. It was last week's episode. But decorating for symbols of late fall include skulls. I said skulls, not skulls. No, I said skulls. Not like a skull, like your skull, your head. I know it sounds the same, I'm sorry. But skeletons, grave rubbings, ghosts, harvest foods such as pumpkin, squash, root vegetables, nuts, berries, and dark breads, dried leaves and acorns, a cornucopia filled with an abundance of fruit and veggies, mulled cider, wine, or mead, and now a Samhain ceremony. Start out by preparing a meal for the family, focusing on fruits and vegetables and wild game meat if available. Include a loaf of dark bread like rye or pumpernickel and a cup of apple cider or wine. Set the dinner table with candles and a fall centerpiece and put all the food on the table at once. Consider the dinner table a sacred space. I'm sorry, I cannot speak today. Um, but gather everyone around the table and say this. Tonight is the first of 3 nights on which we celebrate Samhain. It is the end of the harvest, the last days of summer, and the cool nights wait on the other side for us. The bounty of our labor, the abundance of the harvest, the success of the hunt, all lies before us. We thank the earth for all it has given us this season, and we look forward to winter, a time of sacred darkness. End quote. Take the cup of cider or wine and lead everyone outside. Make this a ceremonial and formal occasion. Head to your garden if you have one. If you don't find a grassy place in your yard, each person in the family takes the cup in turn and sprinkles a little bit of cider onto the earth, saying, "Summer is gone, winter is coming. We have planted and we have watched the garden grow. We have weeded and we have gathered the harvest. Now it is at its end." End quote. Collect any yard trimmings or dead plants and use them to make straw or to make a straw man or woman. If you follow a more masculine path, it may be your king of winter and rule your home until spring returns. If you follow the goddess in her many forms, make a female figure to represent the goddess as hag or crone in winter. Once that is done, go back inside and bring your deity into your home. Place him on your table and prop him up with a plate of his own, and when you sit down to eat, serve him first. Begin your meal with the breaking of the dark bread and make sure you toss a few crumbs outside for the birds back afterwards. Keep the king of winter in a place of honor all season long. You can put him back outside in your garden on a pole to watch over next spring's seedlings and eventually burn him at your Beltane celebration. When you are finished with your meal, put the leftovers out in the garden as an offering for the dead. You can make an ancestor's altar. To honor your deceased family members with the ceremony, gather photographs, heirlooms, and other mementos of a deceased family, friend, or even pets. Arrange them on a table, dresser, or other surfaces, along with several votive candles. Light the candles in their memory while you do so. Speak their names out loud and express well wishes and thank them for being part of your life or lineage. Sit quietly and pay attention to what you experience. Note any messages you receive in your journal. This ancestor's altar can be created just for Samhain or in general. Guide the spirits. Place a white 7-day candle in the window to guide the dead to the spirit world. Light the candle and speak these words. "O little flame that burns so bright, be a beacon on this night. Light the path for all the dead, that they may now see what's ahead, and lead them to Summerland and shine until Pan takes their hands. And with your light, please bring them peace, that they may rest and sleep with ease." Now, we're going to talk about divinatory guidance. Using tarot, runes, scrying, or other methods of divination, seek and reflect the guidance for the year to come. Write a summary of your process and messages. Select something appropriate to act upon and do it. Now we're into herbs and spices. There are many plants that tie in closely with Samhain. To name a few: allspice berries, broom, catnip, mountain ash berries, mugwort, mullein, oak, leaves, acorns, rosemary, sage, pine cones, and straw. Find creative and safe. You should research before you consume ways to use them in your cooking and around your house's decorations. So always look up before you use something, because some stuff you cannot burn because it can actually be toxic and you don't want to end up in the hospital or dead. So always do your own research. But lastly, we're going to get into some correspondences. So colors are black, orange, red, silver, gold, brown, purple, yellow. Food and drink: apples, ciders, pork, hazelnuts, pomegranates, pumpkins, potatoes, squash, cranberries, turnips, beets, mugwort, tea, ale, mulled wine, pies and cakes for the dead. The deities are Hecate, the crone, Ceridwen, Bas, Persephone, horned hunter, Ceranos, Osiris, Hades, Anubis, Loki, Iran, Dis, and any other death underworld god or goddess. Crystals and gemstones: black obsidian, jasper, onyx, bloodstone, smoky quartz, and carnelian. And that is all I have for you today. Those were the last of our correspondences. You can add those to your altar, which I will be doing. If you'd like to see pictures, I might post some. But yeah, that is all I have for you guys today on our brief review of Sabbats and Samhain. I will see you guys next week at 3 p.m. like always. Enjoy your Samhain, your Halloween. Let me know if you participate, and I will see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye guys.